Hi again then guys, and welcome to another circuit build for Gran Turismo Sport, of course, and this is obviously one of the cars from the latest update, and the reason why I'm doing this video before anything else is because I had by far the most requests to do a circuit tune, in effect like a control tune, like we used to do for Leash the Beast on GT6, to bring this car under more control, to allow less experienced Formula drivers to actually get more out of the car. I heard people saying they found it too twitchy, that it kind of goes through the gearbox in a weird sort of way, very abrupt, especially when you're using manual, and just a general strangeness about the car. Even the sound, a lot of people have had some issues with. Now, as far as the tune, I've made some pretty radical changes, especially to the gearbox. It's completely different to what it started out as, but I would say that it works out better in the long run. So we'll get to that in just a second. As far as power and weight, of course you cannot improve those. So it's down to you if you want to make it heavier and less powerful, but obviously you're not exactly going to do that under most circumstances. As far as the traction, I've got it turned off completely because it does work out quicker. If you do find it a little bit more challenging, there's nothing wrong with having traction control. If you're less experienced on the game, if you're less experienced with Formula cars, I'd recommend maybe trying it on 1 because that makes a huge difference. Of course, having it on 0 ultimately ends up being quicker though. As far as the tyres, we've got them on mediums. Theoretically, softs would be even quicker, but I know, especially with Formula racing, people have very strong personal preferences, so just go for whatever you want. As far as the suspension, we've got a pretty huge difference, but it doesn't actually look as massive a difference when you're driving the car, of course. 50mm on the front, 107 on the rear. As far as the frequency, we've got that on 6. Anti-roll, perhaps surprisingly, we've reduced to 5 on the front and the back. As far as compression on the dampers, I've got that on 55, 85 on the rebound, 1 degree of camber. That's probably surprising given how twitchy this car is, but trust me, the diff in particular makes a much more significant difference to this car than the camber ever will. As far as the tow, we've got that on neutral. Now the downforce is of course dependent on where you plan to use it. I've got it set as low as possible because I wanted to demonstrate that this car could have good handling and really good top speed for what it is. So I would actually recommend trying it out with the lowest setting because you might be surprised how much better it is. But of course, if you're going on a total technical circuit with no top speed sections, then of course increase the downforce and you will be quicker through corners. As far as the diff, as I said, makes a massive difference. I would strongly recommend trying this out. 30 on initial torque, and then as low as possible for both acceleration and braking. Trust me, it makes a huge difference to the car. Now, don't go into it expecting that you can floor it like an Audi R18 out of a corner. Of course not. It is still twitchy. You need careful throttle control. And although I say that it's still twitchy, it's a world apart from what it started out as. Trust me on that. It's a lot better. Now, as far as the gearbox, you will need to do a gearbox flip. So for those who are unfamiliar with that, you want to fit the fully customized transmission, obviously, then go to your auto settings, take it as high as you can, then come down to the final drive and put that all the way up as high as it can go, then come back to the auto setting, click it down and then back up to the highest one, and you'll notice that that will allow the individual gears to go much lower in terms of the number. Then I would recommend stretching out all of the gears as long as they can go, and then bring your final drive down to 4840. And basically the difference that that makes is it changes the car from being a very twitchy, strangely accelerating 8-speed car, which feels entirely unnecessary for the most part, and it turns into a 228 mile per hour 5-speed setup. So you literally only ever need to use 5 gears. You can get up over 70 miles per hour in first gear. So it actually works out being quicker than with all of the gears, both for top speed and acceleration. So I would strongly recommend trying that out. Of course you could go for something else if you want to, but it really is designed to be an all-round tune for acceleration, top speed, and handling. And I think it pretty much is exactly that. Now, of course, what you want to know is how quick can it go around a track? And what better place to show what it can do than Le Mans? Now, you're probably wondering, why did I bring it to Le Mans? Because when I said the obvious choice of track, you'd probably expect it to be something like the Nordschleife. That's where you would typically prove what a car like this can do, especially given the recent events with the Porsche 919's lap record, all that kind of good stuff. Well, that's actually the exact reason why I didn't take it there, because that's the obvious place. All Formula cars are going to be good on a technical circuit. What I wanted to show is that this car is capable of more than that, because despite the fact that this tune setup and this car in general is literally 40 miles per hour slower than my Peugeot 908 and my Audi R18, despite that massive disadvantage, especially on the non-chicane version of Le Mans, where virtually half of the track is all about speed, it is still only a couple of seconds slower than those cars. This lap that I'm doing is a 2:49, and I have no doubt whatsoever that you guys could take it even quicker. I have no doubt at all. Now, that goes to show the potential that this car has. Around 228 miles per hour in 5th gear, you could even use 6th for slipstreaming if you wanted to, maybe shorten it up if you do plan to, but you won't need to that often, so it gives you dominating top speed against other Formula cars, great acceleration. I tried using it with a 6-speed version instead, and it was slower, so 5-speed really works well. It's the sweet spot in effect between acceleration and top speed. You've got nice long gears, so if you do choose to drive manual, as many of you are, you don't have to constantly be upshifting and downshifting like a nutbag. You can just put it into 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and you're done. You're not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then slowing down 8, 7, 6, you know, it could get annoying doing all of that. So, if you do decide to use this build, of course I'd love to hear your lap times on tracks like the Nordschleife or even here at Le Mans. And of course, if you are new to the channel, you could always click through here at the end of the video to see the rest of them. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.